What up, friends? That's certainly an animal, and today we're going to be reviewing Otoboke Beaver's newest record, Super Champon. This is the second full-length release by Japanese punk rock band Otoboke Beaver. There's such a fun energy surrounding this group, man. They keep it raw and real, pulling together some tight and punchy rhythms alongside some very tongue-in-cheek wit and overall attitude. Their newest offering here is largely similar to their debut, actually. Despite the 18-track length, in true punk fashion, this thing is only like 25 minutes long. It's a fun listen, though even if it's sort of accessible and doesn't overstay its welcome because of that, I find the record kind of lacks an identity for itself, and it doesn't have as much variety compared to their previous record, actually. Though it's not really the theme of the record, I figured I'd start off with a few notable tracks that I found on it. I'm Not Maternal is definitely a really solid opener to the record. There's some fun and jovial vocals that have a confidence to them, some steady riffs and drums that keep the energy high, and some really lively harmonies that lead into the rest of the record with a bang. I'm also really digging the slide on that guitar that's present here and there too. Pardon also has some really slick riffs and a bigger bass emphasis that I appreciate. The structure is fast-paced and in your face, and I really love the shouted vocals on this one. It almost sounds less like a song and more of a passionate shout into a busy street, and it's raw as hell because of that. Don't Call Me Mojo is another solid tune. It almost kind of reminds me of like the World Ends With You soundtrack, especially in that repeated intro, weirdly enough. Heavy and noisy riffs, some fun flows and variety, and even a really cool and seamless switch-up in the second half make this track a definite standout. First Class Side Guy also has a lot of light and gritty riffs that make this track a lot of fun. In a weird way, I almost get a Splatoon vibe from the instrumental on this one, but it's super energetic and gets the blood pumping. I'm also really digging the sort of wall of sound approach here. There is no respite from their onslaught on this track. There is something going on in every single corner of this song. I find that the other songs on the record sound best in context. You can't really pull them away from the overall album because they kind of blend into each other. It's a short record overall, and the purpose is generally just to give you a short burst of adrenaline. I think it does a pretty great job at this, actually. There's not really much to say about punk records like this because being short, sweet, and punchy is their goal. I also think the lyrical themes of the songs I have translations for, at least, are pretty great. It's largely dealing with the Japanese expectations of women and how our girls here are trying to break and smash all of them, from the submissive stereotype to feeling emboldened and proud of their loudness and willingness to express themselves and their personality and feelings. It's really at its core a self-empowerment album, just feeling fully open with their thoughts. They also have some pretty biting commentary and satire about things like the JK business and general misogyny in Japanese culture at times, so I think that's pretty fucking punk of them, to be honest. I do think instrumentally the album is a bit weaker, though. There's not as much variety on this album compared to the first one, as on the first album we have some songs that have bigger bass presence or a bigger emphasis on the drums, or some where we kind of slow down the tempo a bit and get a bit more melodic. We don't really get that on this one, though. The songs also don't generally leave a lasting impact on you individually, so you're not really going to be coming back to this thing unless you're listening to it all the way through. The length of the record being short makes this not too much of an issue, but I would prefer each song to have more of its own identity next time around. The girls definitely keep up their attitude and fun vibes on their second record, however, I do think it doesn't really break any new ground. It's a good example of the sound and genre that they were going for, and the girls definitely have a lot of charm and forward-thinking passion. However, there's not really any individual moments that really stick out to you. It's not really a project that you can pick a standout moment on. It's an album that you basically only listen to all the way through, and while that can definitely be the vibe and sort of energy that you're going for at times, it can also be not the most memorable thing at other times. Because of that, I'm feeling a strong 7 on the newest album by Otoboke Beaver. Now, of course, we do have to talk about album covers on this show, and for what it's worth, I think this is a pretty great album cover. It's not really my personal thing design-wise, but I do think it fits the tone of the record perfectly. It's very intense with all of the different colors going on here. The girls are definitely showing their quirky sides. I think the sort of raw visual intensity here, this very maximalist aesthetic, fits how just in-your-face the instrumentals are on this thing. They're unapologetically being themselves, both on the cover and on the record itself. But of course, those are just my thoughts on this newest album by Otoboke Beaver. What do you guys think? Do you actually like this album more than the previous one? Or are you hoping to see something maybe a bit more, I don't know, with a bit more variety next time? Let me know. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell. I don't really have something for this one, actually. But until the next one, farewell.